Okay, so for just a little time, we have to share a little more work. I decided I'd come on and I'll tell y'all I got loaded with chips in here in this little pan, but you know where we kind of put the back of the line on the backs of these figures here. We kind of gotta carve away at that, and I say, oh, you know, little time and work as it goes. Oh, I say, I kind of mentioned in the last video how this was coming along, how there was so much to say and so much to do and to know, and, you know, kind of had to sort of get past, oh, and I forgot my glove, this little type of work, because I tell you, I couldn't find my thumb protector, so I was busy making a new one right before shooting this video. So, and anyway, we come along this little place where we shave along these lines, make them so we see a little ways they're gonna do awkward things and come down to where it's all going just the best it can be to make it so we see how much brighter the work can come out. And I tell you, I can't wait until I get to do a show and put these out there for everyone to see, because this is kind of my pride and joy, this kind of work is, and I say it's just what it does, and I say this will work along the way in all things we do. I say we kind of got to get the lines out of here and take it where it's going to need to go, and I tell you that lots of work comes in what we do. Oh, it's just kind of ways to say so much. I enjoy how this butternut is such soft wood. I had a couple of these little nativities that I started to carve out of walnut and sapelli, but don't think I'm going to finish those up just yet. They require a bigger knife and harder work because they're kind of harder woods, and we kind of want to go about what we do in the nicest, little smoothest ways. And I'd say, you know, as of this year, even those little angels I make from the same book, sold plenty of those around this year, and it was just a blessing how they come and go like they do. I'd say that it's like I've had a lot to do, a lot to go on, and lots to say, but I'd say this little work is just doing its little old amazing part to me, seeing how this little way we have of seeing how our work shall come along, make Mary and Joseph just the figures they need to be. Oh, this little story I tell you about how there was this little ark set that my grandmother had. It was like toys, but there were a couple little figures. One little girl my grandmother babysat at the time said it was Mary and Joseph. My grandmother said, oh, no, that's not Mary and Joseph, that's Noah and his wife. Then I said to them, or it could be Joseph with the colorful coat and Potiphar's wife. My grandmother said, well, let's not talk about that. I think they're a little too young to understand that. I'd say those girls, they were pretty young at the time, yes. They were a little too young to understand that. Sometimes I say there can be parts of the Bible that can be little misunderstood at times, but I say as you're learning it, you've got a long ways to go. Sometimes you have to look at certain parts of the Bible and then go look at others to try to see exactly what it means or what it says. And you kind of have to go about other passages. There's probably been a few passages in my life that once or twice I've even maybe had to look into a commentary to find out what they meant. There are some passages, though, where different people are going to say different things in different commentaries. Like when it comes down to the beasts in Revelation 13, and you read different commentaries on the Revelation, you're going to see different things. There's been people who think, that certain beast in there, that it was kind of a sign of Nero worship. That was William Barclay's view, but then there's been others who thought that the first beast was pagan Rome and the second beast was papal Rome. There's all these things where people see different figures, different creatures, different meanings, but I'd say we all just have to be careful how we go about what we read and what we say. We kind of got to be careful with people, how we talk about them and around them, because you never know what kind of faith anybody might be. And I mean, it's just all these different religions of different sorts. Sometimes I've heard things in the Baptist sermons and wanted to come and say them on social media and Facebook, but come to realize there's those little things where we kind of got to be cautious and careful about what we're saying, because we never know how anybody might take anything. There might be things some preachers might have a little authority to say to their own congregation that we also may not have the authority to go anywhere else and tell anybody else. It's just how the thing goes. And I'd say there's times in life when pastors get on politics. Back when I used to have those pages for the Autistic Rev, whether it be for the music ministry or for the Aspie pulpit or the even what I called Autistic Rev's Aspie Crafts before it was Jonathan's Nature Crafts, all that stuff. I'd post a little political thing on there once in a while and even have somebody comment to me and say, you shouldn't be so political if you want people to take your ministry seriously. That's kind of one of the reasons why there's things I try to be more cautious and careful about these days. There's a lot of things that have been learned the hard way in life, and lessons learned the hard way are the things that really teach us the most, and about life in general, and what we know, what we believe, what we say, what we teach. I'd say there's been times in my life I've tried to be an effective witness in ways that I couldn't. You know, I even learned over time there's pastors out there who might even kind of get on there, preach what they will, and tell you about how they're not writing a book about how to win friends or how to be influential or anything like that. And I was talking to one man about it at Starbucks one evening and heard the little line he said. He said, but Jesus said, You must lead in love. And truly he did say that, for sure. And as we go on, there's so much more to find out in life about where we'll go, where we'll be, what we will do. And I say that this little time when we come by, have little ways of faith to say all kinds of things. I've learned there's people in this world that I could never be an effective witness to as I spoke to them again, or even if I tried to, couldn't be reconciled to them to do so because one time or another I had already come off as being very aggressive to them. And there are times when we just kind of see that there is some kind of preaching that can sound a little aggressive now and then. And I say that there's ones who they might even use it when they're talking from the pulpit, but they may not be somebody who necessarily uses it when they're out in another place or in another environment or around different people and strangers and stuff, because a little lesson we all learn in life is to lead in love, as Jesus Christ even stated. I come along this little challenge here to say to you today that there's going to be more to be said, more to be done, but sometimes I enjoy a little chance just to share a little Bible, share a little word, share a little thing or two that comes to mind, preach a little thing or two just to say a little more. And I tell you all that this is just the work that we make of ourselves when we really try hard at things. Don't know how the next nativities are going to come out, but still remember the very first ones I ever carved. I carved out a poplar. They weren't really the best figures, but learned a little bit more about how to take a little bit of a more careful measurement to make sure things come out as best as they can. And oh, how much work it comes to be when it all comes down to the very things we see and how we work, and oh, the things in life that come a long ways to brighten us into morning stars. And oh, I tell y'all that been quite an eventful week. There's been times in life when I've had little cards to sign for our co-workers, and as for this moment, it was just a little good thing to come on here, share a little nativity work. You might kind of see in here where I might be able to draw my next lines. And I say that there's probably going to be a few places here. I say there comes a time when we go a little bit halfway up the statues and come along and make this little line down the center of the back and try to make the line come out and even out to where it's going to see bright times and bright days and bright moments, I say. And oh, I tell y'all, like work shall come and make a way about us. Oh, what time. And when we kind of carve these little extra lines in here, so Mary kind of kneels a little bit more, That's how it's gonna make her look, to say the least, and to make the most of her. And oh, little work time when we see all these things that brighten our little days in us. Oh, I say, draw little more lines, make little more human figures, and oh, I say that it's just a time when work gets its essentialities in us. And when we pray, we have a lot to say. I'll tell y'all, I'll show y'all the lines on Joseph that I just drew. Of course, we're going to come back, take care of that little step when we come back around sometime. And I'd say there's going to be a little more to share and to say as far as what we do in our little bit of work in life. And I tell y'all that I appreciate the fact that y'all come on, see these videos, and learn a lot from them and learn a lot from me. There's just little moments when I'm always thankful to have a community, even if it's small, that comes on here to watch. And oh, I say that there's so much I'd share, so much I'd say the further on we go. Can't really get a little much on words right now because it's still a little early in the morning for me, earlier than I'd usually be up. Thinking I might kind of get out and do a little things this weekend. It's not normal for me to be up early like this on a weekend, but I'd say it's just kind of one of those things where it's wonderful when you do get up a little bit at a different time, because it kind of makes it so you can schedule a little more, do a little more, being a little bit more activity during the day than you mostly otherwise could. So I'm going to have so much more to say as I go further along. Do think I might kind of make some other lines in here too while I get to be right at it. And so, as for putting a little bit of time in this, I say that this is just the work that makes its way above us. I say, come on, do a little work in life and have a little faith like you see. I'll say that there's a little eighth of an inch line that comes above these little figures up at the top of the head, where we come along to kind of shave in the next part of the head. And for the little work we have in these things, I say here's where I start the lines, make them kind of take their way along, and see how little work it's going to be to work our way about this, and see how little it can do for us to show a little time and favor in life. And oh, work days, it's just work days. It's just days we have all on our lives, and come on and say a lot to do. There's times when we all kind of work together to make a beautiful, better world. And there's all kinds of nice places where we get to be if we ever get up in just enough time on the weekends. Think I'm going to finish the lines on these Mary figures and then probably in the video there, probably do the Joseph ones a little separately, and then kind of tell you all a little more as to how I come along. And I say that merrily we roll along, more with each new day. Oh, I tell y'all that this is the joy that comes in the morning. We see, oh, grace is just sufficient for us. Seeing our power is always made perfect in our weakness. I think we kind of gotta get these in the right way, make it so we're seeing brighter times and days, blessed nights. Oh, work, work, work. It's just how it is when it comes to us, what we do, what we see, what we say. Oh, brighter days, brighter times. Oh, I say that a little work shall make its way along to us. And I thank you all for coming on, watching this video, seeing what all I do, seeing what all I have to say, seeing what all I have to share. And I hope you'll come back on again as we continue this series, and we will have so much more to say as we go. Goodbye.